All right, welcome into Are You Cirrus, episode 6.
Still not canceled.
Still not canceled. We're here. I'm meteorologist Andrew Dockery here.
And Chief Meteorologist Jamie Arnold from WMBF News here in Myrtle Beach.
Yeah, I have to keep telling people. We're
yes.
in South Carolina.
Yes.
But we've had people tune in from all over, which we appreciate.
We certainly do, and we're still having fun doing this, so we're just going to keep it up until y'all are tired of us.
I'm interested. I know the numbers at one point were they're growing listening in Spotify. So if you're listening to us, thank you.
Yep.
If you're watching us, last episode, the tornado episode,
Yep.
was by far the best visually.
Yeah. Mega kudos to our producer, Anya, who
Yeah.
really made that podcast look really great. So thanks to her. And we keep raising the bar on this. I don't know how much further we can go.
If you missed it or you listened and you want to go back and watch, they had boxes popping up in tornado video. And I was like, okay, this is a lot more complex than what we thought. But you can subscribe. You can share, you can like, you can rate, you can comment. I think that's it.
I think so.
Okay, good deal.
Yeah.
How's Jamie been?
Jamie's good. It's beautiful weather. A couple days off this week, so Jamie's doing good. Cranking along in the garden, getting some projects done.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm ready for the big reveal of the garden.
Same. I'm still waiting on it. I got a lot of work to do.
I can't wait to see. I've seen some snippets, so it'll be interesting. Beautiful weather, obviously. That's nice. We're enjoying that. We're still trying to figure out, if you're watching us, the camera angle.
Yeah, because we have Darion every time come in and tell us which angle looks good. He told me this one looks good. I really don't think it is.
Yeah.
But whatever.
It is
We're
what
both
it
a little
is.
self-conscious about those side rolls and back rolls. And
I went untucked today.
Same. Yeah. I'll never be tucked in again at this chair.
I totally don't blame you.
Yeah.
Question of the day for us. We were kind of debating on what to do, but I think this one would be good. Most embarrassing story for you that's ever happened in TV?
There's a lot. There's nothing hugely embarrassing that's like gone viral or anything. I think we probably hit on this maybe the first or second episode of this, but there were a lot of zipper downs, a lot of collar pops. Where the collar was
the Dracula
up.
look.
Yeah, things just weren't quite right. Probably my biggest was at my previous TV station up in Greenville, North Carolina, and I fell live on the air. The thing was, you didn't see it on camera because I was off camera going from the chroma wall to the desk, and stupid, vain me, as I walked off camera, picked up a mirror because I felt like my tie was off. So I was kind of adjusting my tie, looking at myself in the mirror, and I had to go up 2 steps to get to the set where I was going to sit down to finish that segment. And I was too busy looking at myself, so I tripped and I fell, and you hear the whole process happening on the air. And then I just kind of had to say, okay, sorry about that, y'all. I just fell, and I fell hard, broke the mirror. Yeah, it was bad. Yeah.
Zipper down was one for me.
Yep.
Also, the classic, like, go to the restroom, have the mic on.
Yeah. I'm so terrified of that happening.
Yeah, I now take my mic off.
Yeah, when I have to go to the bathroom during a newscast, a lot of people just turn the mic off.
Yeah.
I don't. I take it off my body and leave it on the desk.
I leave it on the desk.
Yeah.
And I've also been guilty of forgetting I took it off.
Yes.
So then we go back to a hit, and, I'm thinking, all right, let's start talking. And you can barely hear.
Yep.
It's like,
no mic.
He doesn't have his mic on. I just thought of another one, too, in Eastern Kentucky. We were doing a newscast. It was the 6 o'clock news, and we smelled like smoke in our studio.
That's never good.
Not good. And we were doing the newscast, and I didn't realize what it was. Well, I was in the weather center, and we had lights kind of similar to this. It was the lights that shine up around the set. My jacket, my winter jacket, was laying on top of one of the lights. So I went to go open it, and there was a hole burnt through the jacket because of the studio lighting.
You know what would be a really fun episode in the future? We should do a compilation of WMBF bloopers and kind of go through, because who doesn't love a good blooper reel?
Yeah, for sure.
And then kind of explain the story behind the bloopers.
Ooh, I like that.
We had one newscast when the old studio was out here, where the fire alarm started going off, and we're going through the newscast, and this was when the newsroom was kind of the background, and you could see in the background, and literally everybody's getting up and running out of the building, but me and the anchor at the time, we're still just kind of going about our business, like, what's going on? So yeah, we could do a good blooper reel
that
show.
would be good.
Yeah.
And then we could maybe find clips or at least tell the stories and set the scene.
Yeah.
Yeah, embarrassing moments. They happen a lot. Sometimes you don't notice them if you're watching at home.
Right.
Until after the fact, or if we say something. And then other times you do notice it. Anyways, I'm really excited for this episode.
I am too.
It's different, and I'll be honest, if it wasn't for the question, I probably wouldn't have thought about it.
Right.
We got a question, and we were going to talk about it last episode, and you were like, this is an episode within itself.
Yeah.
So Mark sent us a message, and Mark, if you're listening to this, I know you are, or you're watching it, because when he messaged this, he messaged us at the end of March and said, I've listened to all 4 of your podcasts and truly enjoyed them, especially the history of WNBF. Glad he liked that episode. Good. We almost felt like that one was very vague. He said, I do have a question, though. I assume you all get the basic weather forecast from the National Weather Service, but how much of your own personal knowledge and skills go into interpreting what ends up being broadcast? A lot of questions in there and a lot of answers that could come your way. I'll kind of let you start, and we could piggyback off that. Mark, thank you, by the way.
Yeah, and thus an entire podcast on what we do, how we come to our forecast. This is for everybody who stops us in the grocery store and says, I wish I could get paid to be wrong half the time, and who says, so you guys just like copy the weather service, right? And just say it. We don't. We don't. Yeah. That's the short answer.
Yeah.
We, at least on this team, all 4 of us here, are degreed, certified meteorologists.
Yeah.
Have degrees, went to college, did the whole thing, and all 4 of us come into work every day and make our own forecast.
Yeah, and let's talk about that degree.
Yes.
Because a lot of people don't realize the degree is hard.
The degree is hard, and it's hard. It's a lot of math and so much physics and so much chemistry, all things that I'm horrible at now. And yeah, it's hard.
Very hard.
It's hard. So your degree is actual meteorology?
Yeah, so it was atmospheric science.
Yep.
With a focus in meteorology, minor in broadcasting. You go into at least college for me, and because they keep adding classes for that degree, it was 5 years already.
Yeah.
To just graduate.
Yeah.
So, like, if you could get through it, and we had a couple of kids who could get through it in 4, but few and far between. I failed some classes.
Yep.
I will admit it.
Yep.
I got by
Yep.
on some classes. Physics and calculus for me were brutal.
Yeah, physics, the absolute worst, but it's you have to do it. And, and, you know, when you're going through it, you're like, well, why am I doing this? But then you kind of, once you start getting, I think, into your upper level classes, you kind of, the picture starts to come together of why you need all that. I double majored in atmospheric science and geography because at the time where I went, UNC Charlotte didn't actually have a meteorology degree. And then as we talked about in one of those episodes, got my master's in atmospheric science. And again, it was just, the math, the chemistry. So we've all been through it.
Yeah, and the best way to describe it is you have to go through the physics and calculus to understand the basic forecasting equations.
Yes.
That come into what this daunting class called thermodynamic meteorology is. But basically what that does is it teaches you an understanding of what these equations and what these lifting mechanisms and all these laws have to do with our atmosphere. Our atmosphere is a liquid. It's kind of weird to think about.
It is a liquid. Yes, it behaves like a liquid, and that
changes all the time.
Yeah, and that's kind of the fundamental of meteorology, especially dynamic meteorology and thermodynamics. Is how do these parcels of air interact with each other? How do they rise? Yeah.
So, let me ask you this: when you come from college, and especially for you, masters, you go into all this calculus and all this physics. Then you get a job in TV.
Yep.
You're kind of like, wait, what? And I get it. It was for basic understanding. You have to have it.
Right.
But now we are very fortunate to where we have all this amazing data.
Yeah.
That tells us
the colleges are probably going to hate us for this, but we're not exactly sitting down and calculating convective available potential energy and the lifted index. We're not, working on our calculator every day. It's all kind of there for us.
Which has kind of changed it.
But again, you still have to have the basic knowledge.
Understanding for sure. So let's start with the basic here. We already said that we don't copy from the National Weather Service.
Yep.
I know in the past there's been certain meteorologists who have done that, and to each their own.
And and you know what? I don't have an issue with that because the Weather Service, and I want us to come back to the Weather Service and our partnership with them. You know, if you're not a degreed meteorologist, but you're great on the air and you're great at delivering the story and you can get viewers, if you want to more or less follow what the Weather Service says, I'm okay with that because they're mighty good. And
I would rather you follow them than follow a lot of others. Yeah, like a weather app on your phone or whatever.
I don't have a problem with it. Now, I might have a problem if you call yourself a meteorologist.
Yeah, and you didn't put in the degree.
Yeah, but that's okay. We earned a meteorologist.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So you start your day. What's the first thing you look at? Because this is where we may be different. I don't know. What's the first thing when we go to forecasting that you just...
Well, I was going to kind of flip that question and ask you, and we can both go into this, is like a day in the life, sort of our process, because I have a feeling we're both the same way.
Yeah.
I know for me, you know, I work the evening shift, so I don't get into work till usually 1 or 1:30. But the first thing I do every morning when I get up, fix my cup of coffee, sit down with my phone, and look at the forecast models.
Yeah.
Every single day. Like, it's my morning routine. I don't come to work blind. You know, I know what's going on and have a general sense of what's going to be happening for the next week or so.
I feel like now, too, with this business, you have to do that.
Yeah.
Because if you don't, you're coming in and spending an extra 30 minutes at least.
Yeah.
When
content's
got to be rolling.
Right.
For me, I look right before I go to bed.
Yeah.
At whatever run is out.
Yep.
For those that are new and you're probably thinking, okay, models. I know we have a lot of weather nerds that are tuning in, which I love. But there's typically 4 major model runs that come out. It gives us the data. We always say, hey, the new data suggests, and it's those 4 times a day the models come out. There's a big group of them, and I tell people when they say, you know, the 20% chance of forecasting, I always think of it like rainfall. So you have, you know, 5 major models, but there's also the sub varieties of that. So I look at the data before I go to bed, then I wake up, and we'll look at, usually when I get in, the GFS, the American model, is fully out.
Yep.
And the Euro is about 6 days out.
Yep.
And I already kind of knew what it was going to show. You have to do that.
Yeah.
Because you and I are both sticklers, because as soon as you get your forecast done, graphics. But, you have to stay in the know.
And it's basically the same for me. By the time I get to work, usually while I'm eating my lunch, still at home, the GFS is already out. So I'll kind of, you know, get a feel for what it is saying. The European, especially with the time change during the summer months, comes in a little bit later. So I've got a good idea, but I always wait until the Euro comes out to kind of polish off the forecast, because it's the Euro, and we all know we all kind of love the Euro, and it's the superior model. So not that we follow it as gospel, but, you know, I always wait until the Euro is completely done, which this time of the year usually is about 3 o'clock before
3 o'clock in the morning for me. It's like, all right, I feel comfortable.
Before we kind of put the finishing touches on the forecast.
Yeah, and for me, while I'm waiting for the model data to come in, you've changed me. Let me start that, because I had a nice forecast sheet.
Beautiful. It was so beautiful.
It was beautiful.
And well organized.
I was so proud of it. It had all the major models at the top. I would go through the runs, write the percentages of rain based off each model run, days, because we do 2 7-day forecasts. And then eventually, you just got to the point where it's like, all right, I got to shave some time off at some point. And, we now use the old notebook.
Yeah, we old school, a notepad. And I used to do nice little sheets too. Even when I started here, I did nice little forecast sheets and put everything.
The marine forecast.
Yeah, and now I'm scribbling notes. I'm like, GFS Euros going this, and let's go rain next Thursday. You know, it's just in a couple of numbers, and then I go with it.
If you didn't know, like, I can read your forecast sheet if you were to show it, and you could read mine. But if anyone was looking at it, we may post a photo and this, you would probably look at this and be like, what am I looking at?
Yeah.
And it's just basically shorthanded writing to get us to the part where I think you even said in a previous podcast, you go in and you enter all the numbers and then you make the graphics. But for me, before I even submit that 7-day and I kind of look at the day ahead, I always go back to the previous to see.
Right.
Hopefully if I was right.
Right.
Most of the time, if not right, 1 degree.
Yeah. And we do the same in the afternoon before we start kind of officially putting in the numbers that we're going to go with for the day. Yeah. We'll check your 7-day forecast from the morning to make sure, again, and if we do have to make changes, we tend to sort of make them in increments. Yeah. You know, let's just say next Monday you had 50 and suddenly the models changed and it looks like it's going to be 70. Well, I'm not going to do a 20-degree change. We'll kind of nudge it because we know how things change and go back and forth. So we'll kind of nudge in a direction. We'll nudge up rain chances or nudge them back down. And that's kind of how we handle, because you want it consistent, because a lot of people do watch in the morning. They'll turn around and watch later in the day. You can't give them two totally different forecasts, And also, if there's, especially with big events, we as a team are often texting each other like, hey, did you see this? Did you see this? What about this? Think we're going to go this? Yeah, it doesn't look so impressive for the storm setup, so we're always
on the same page.
Yeah.
And I remember, last week, we were talking about Easter weekend.
Yeah.
And I texted you before the week started and I said, hey, I know we never go, not never, but we never go so aggressive on rain percentages this far in advance.
Yeah.
But I did it because I know it's Easter weekend.
Yeah.
Same thing with 4th of July. We would do that with Christmas or Thanksgiving, but there was just enough data there to where you kind of have to, okay, if we had a 30% and it pours and someone watched, only one day that week and it looks bad. So
and that's where the part that I kind of really love, the art of forecasting. There's obviously the science behind it, but there's also the art behind it and what people see and what people perceive.
Yeah.
For example, like that Easter weekend forecast, it's a big sort of impact weekend, like the 4th of July. So if it looks like it's going to rain, we're going to go kind of higher rain chances further out in the future than we normally would. Normally, if there's a big rainmaker coming, we kind of incrementally bump up those rain chances. But we'll kind of bump it up. It's the same thing. If I want to get the point across that it's going to be really hot next Thursday, the forecast may be 89. I'll put a 90.
Yeah.
Because 90 looks hotter.
Yeah, I will too.
To an average viewer. Same thing if it's going to be cold. If the forecast is maybe 40, but it's going to be really windy and cold, I might put a 39 because again, it's the art of it.
I'm glad you said that because I do that. Sometimes I'll go aggressive on the hot further out.
Yep.
And then fine tune when I get to one day out.
Right.
Okay, now it's not going to be 90, it's going to be 88, but we've drilled the point across for 5 days.
Yeah.
Interesting. I thought I was the only one that did that.
Nope, totally do it. Totally do the art of it. And there's a somebody once did a study about odd and even numbers in a forecast. I tend to always go even, but I will throw in odd numbers because I feel like it gives a nice variety.
I don't have anything against odd or even, but I do have something. You will never see consecutive, like more than 2 consecutive days of the same temperature for me.
Yeah.
Drives me bonkers.
It drives me insane.
If it's 75, 75, I'll say, okay, which day has the potential to go 76?
Yep. Same.
Because if I'm looking at my sheet, I'm like, oh, this looks like I just copied and pasted everything.
Yeah.
And then I think too much about it.
Yeah.
If I'm being honest.
Yeah, same. I do too. And then the other thing, sort of the art of it, and this is, we've talked about how kind of laid back I am and how laid back we are. I have one rule for forecasters who come in here, new people who come in, we don't do 50%.
Yeah, that's a pet peeve of mine.
Don't do 50% as far as a chance of rain.
And it's a good reasoning because why is that?
Because how many times have we heard, 50% chance of rain? I guess it could. I guess it couldn't. Mm-hmm. Well, technically, you could put that in every single day as far as the viewer's perception. Well,
100%, yeah.
It may or it may not. So we'll do 40 or we'll do 60, but you will never see a 50% on our forecast.
Brings up a really good point that I'm interested. I know the official definition.
That's a whole nother podcast.
It is.
Because even
just preference.
I still have to think about this. I know exactly where you're going.
Preference, because even our producer in the back, Anya, has asked me many times. There is an equation that Matt Bullock did. A wonderful.
He did. He did a story about it. Bless his heart. And I was still confused.
So basically, rain chances. It's the number one question I feel like people ask. The official definition is percent of area that will see rain times confidence. When you're forecasting, What does 60% mean to you?
What I've started to do, I'm not going to do the confidence thing. That's too complicated. But what I've started to do in the past couple of years is, especially in the summer, when we basically every day have that 20 or 30% chance of a storm, I will verbally say, and this is kind of how I look at it, 20% of you are going to see a storm tomorrow. 30% of you may get a downpour tomorrow. And I think of it and sort of try to portray it as more of a coverage across the area. So in our counties, you know, if 60% of you are going to see rain.
Yeah. I'm right there with you.
Yeah.
20% to me, and I've even said 20%, and if I think it's still, this is weird to say, a lower end 20% where just a stray shower, you'll even see me right on the 7-day stray storm.
Yeah.
Like if you find yourself under a storm, go buy a lottery ticket.
Yeah, right.
Because majority of you will be dry.
Yeah, and that comes back to the art of delivering the forecast, is how you verbally get that across. You know, 100% I love. We love a good 100% rain day.
Oh, it's great.
Slam dunk, gonna rain, done, easy.
Everyone will see rain.
Yeah.
That's 100% to me.
Yeah, yeah. We get those every once in a while, especially in the winter and summer seasons or a hurricane. But yeah, trying to verbally get across what those percentages mean is.
And I mean, we're in the business where I think it was my first news director told me, okay, the basic reading level is 5th grade.
Yeah.
Conversational, simple, and I tell our producers in the morning all the time, simple and conversational.
Yeah.
The tosses to me, the teases, whatever.
Yeah.
And the way I kind of think of that as rain chances.
Yeah.
What's the simplest way to explain it? 60% of you are going to see rain today.
Yeah.
That's my 60%.
Yeah.
So I'm with you.
And then we get into all the verbiage, you know, pop up, splash and dash, which is one of my favorites. I love a splash and dash.
Chance, isolated.
Isolated, scattered,
Drizzle.
widespread, numerous, drizzle. Yeah.
It's tough.
Yeah.
It's
that's
very
probably
hard.
one of the difficult, just sort of day-to-day things, especially around here in the summer, is one, are we going to get storms? Two, conveying and trying to show, because you show future radar, and there will be a couple of storms on there, but then people see that and say, okay, let's look at that storm right on my house. No, we're just kind of giving you an idea. There's probably going to be some storms around. We're not at that point of forecasting exactly when and exactly where.
Yeah. So forecasting's changed a lot over the time. I mean, we were talking about hand drawn, the felt maps.
Yep.
Back in TV.
Yep.
You would stick the high pressure on.
I'm old enough and have been in this business long enough that at my first job, at my first TV station, we still use what were called the DIFAX charts. And whereas today the forecast models come out, I literally look at the Euro and GFS every morning on my phone. You would have to wait for it to come off of this massive printer. They were sheets this big, and it was one of the dot matrix printers, so it was like ding, one line at a time. So big events, you're standing there by the printer watching each map come out one line at a time to see what has changed, and then you take that map and you analyze it by hand. And I did that for a couple years. That's how old I am.
Well, remember the article? There was a thing, for those that don't know, in Chicago, Tom Skilling.
Yep.
They have a clip of him in those big snowstorms with those DIFAX machines. And he was sitting there hanging them all up.
Hanging them all. Oh, yeah.
And then you have to draw
everything on there. Yeah.
It's all done for us now.
Yeah.
It is crazy. Forecasting is tough. On a typical day, though, summertime day, springtime day, how long do you think it takes you to forecast to get the 7-day ready?
All told, I may spend 2 hours, but that's spread out over a long time. Like I said, I'll put in a good 30, 45 minutes at home in the morning. Then I come in and kind of fine tune. And I'm lucky enough that I work with Robert in the afternoon, so we're both doing it.
Oh, it's great.
So we'll kind of bounce off each other. Sometimes it's nitpicky, 20%, 30%, 85 or 86. So I kind of finish up, get the nuts and bolts in the morning, get all the fine details in the afternoon. And then a lot more of my time is spent doing everything but making a forecast. Same for probably for all of us in the business. You're making the graphics, and then there's, just all the regular stuff you got to do every day.
Yeah. We talked about radio before. A lot of people don't realize it too, but what we stand on when we forecast is all made from us.
Yeah.
It's not like it automatically updates.
Nope.
And like we're punching numbers, we're changing the backgrounds. I'm a stickler for your pet peeve is 50%. My pet peeve is I don't want to use the same graphic back-to-back days.
Exactly, yeah.
And if I do, it's going to be changed to where it's either going to have new cities on there,
Something's different.
or
yeah.
it's going to have a new background. In fact, I challenge a viewer to find
Yeah.
because for me, and you taught me this when I got here, I don't do it anymore because it helps you out, but I do it once I get in. I delete my entire show from the day before.
Yeah.
And it's a blank canvas.
Yeah,
I don't know where I'm going to go.
Yeah, for the people watching and listening, it's basically a really glorified PowerPoint presentation.
Very glorified.
And we have the individual graphics lined up, and I do the same thing. Other people don't, and that's fine, whatever your method is. But yeah, start with kind of a clean slate. I know for sure I'm going to show the 2 7-day forecasts.
Yep.
Other than that, I'm usually starting from scratch every day and building graphics. And we're both graphics lovers. We just love to build graphics. That's the fun part of the day for me.
Yeah, for sure.
That I really love.
Playing around with text and all that.
Yeah.
And I used to hate that.
Yeah.
And then it's like, okay, this is kind of cool.
Yeah.
You get to learn that. For me, the toughest thing when I came here forecasting wise was that dreaded sea breeze.
Yeah, the sea breeze. You love it and you hate it all at the same time.
It is brutal, and it can humble you very quickly. I've kind of learned my little cheat sheet. This is kind of another episode I would love to do down the road. Forecasting tips for anyone in the Carolinas that has the sea breeze, especially in this area. I've started to do where forecast high of 76 in Myrtle Beach, active sea breeze, winds coming off the Atlantic, degree cooler in North Myrtle,
Always.
degree warmer in the South Stream.
Always. Yeah. Yep. And you can, if you pay attention to us, you'll see that on all of our maps and all of our graphics and our numbers. Exactly. Yeah.
We're there.
Yep. Yeah.
Oh, man. As far as your time in the business, forecasting now, easier?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then what about just your shift duties? Easier or harder?
Way harder. Shift duties, not harder.
Yeah.
It's much more nonstop than it used to be.
Yeah.
At the time, 15, 20 years ago, this is 21 years in the business for me. 21 years ago, it felt like we were busy, and we were, but it also, looking back, I'm like, oh, that would be nice to do that.
Yeah.
So much of it now is digital and social, and that, that's really time consuming.
Yeah.
Which we love. That's a great part of the job. We're reaching more people, we're getting more information out, which I love, but it's very time consuming.
To the point which leads me to where I want to go next. We were talking about forecasting on a calmer day. Let's fast forward to severe weather or hurricane season.
Tired just thinking about it.
What shifts in your mindset when it comes to forecasting those active days? Because for me, my whole priorities change. Like on a day-to-day, for those that don't know, I would do the forecast and make all the graphics and work kind of on a day-to-day basis, work a day ahead. You get a big storm coming in, your priority list kind of shifts.
Yeah.
Like for me, we were talking about forecasting less, being busy more. Forecasting more then becomes the priority, and then it's like, all right, where can we recycle some of these graphics?
Yeah, recycle and refresh. And I know for big events, I'll tend to more or less leave the back half of that 7-day alone. If we're getting into a hurricane, if we're getting into a big severe weather outbreak, my focus is on, whenever that's about to happen. We'll kind of cover day 6 and day 7 down the road. So it's a big focus there. And it's also a messaging, back to the art of forecasting. It's messaging the threats, messaging the impacts that people are going to see or not see without the hype, which we're often accused of.
Why do you think that is?
Because there is a lot of hype in some spots
Yeah.
and from some markets and from certain networks.
Yeah.
There's hype where there doesn't need to be.
Yeah. Once in a century storm. We've seen that before.
Yeah. And
Terms that people don't know.
we get excited over big weather
100%.
events, and we've said this before. We don't want to see people get hurt. We don't want to see damage, but just the pure science of it, it gets us excited. It gets us excited, and I think that may come off as hype to some people.
Yeah.
It's not.
Yeah.
But we're trying to convey the message. If we have a high impact event coming in, we're trying to convey the message to you of what to expect as clear as possible. And we've, in most cases, even on a busy day, we may have 3.5 or 4 minutes to get that to you. So we got to make sure that we're getting the good stuff out and what you need to know.
Some of my favorite moments here are those big storms the day before or morning of.
Yeah.
And we get to tag team
Yeah,
weathers.
yeah, it's good.
There's a story, and you'll know exactly what I want to say. Hurricane Dorian came through.
Yeah.
And you came in for the morning shift.
Yep.
We tag team. Kind of on like a hurricane day, first alert weather day. Go however long you want.
Right.
It's always kind of
Yeah, we kind of have free reign. Yeah.
do whatever you want. Little did we know, we went 12 minutes.
12 minutes.
No one said anything
Yeah.
to us.
Yeah. The producer's in the back. Normally, if I'm 10 seconds over, I've got a producer in my ear yelling at me to shut up. Yeah, we went 12 minutes. 12 minutes, which in TV time is insanely long, but we had a lot to talk about that morning.
A lot to talk
Yeah.
about. I remember tornado warnings coming in, and we cut in pretty quickly. We were on wall to wall for a while,
Yeah.
but I will never forget that 12-minute Dorian hit. I don't know.
Yeah.
I think it was the morning of. We didn't even know. No one said anything.
Yeah,
and
we just kept going. And for us, it felt like 2 minutes.
yeah. That's the hard part too for severe weather is you want to drive the impacts home.
Yeah.
But you only have so much time to do so.
Yeah.
I kind of look forward to when the day is here and you know you can go however long you want.
Yeah.
Because leading
Same.
up to it, it's like, 3.5 is not enough
Yeah.
to get all this out. For me, a tip and trick, and I know we have a couple of people in the business that are listening, I don't really focus on, this is going to sound bad at first, and I'll kind of explain. I don't focus on like the viewer when I'm doing a typically day-to-day sunny forecast. I focus on impacts and all.
Yeah.
But what helps for me, and I think a lot of people, I remember getting worked up during severe weather and so excited that the easiest thing I could tell, maybe someone starting out in the business, is focus on that one viewer and their impacts during the big event.
Yeah.
So like you have, a mother who lives in Garden City and you got a hurricane coming in. Talk to the camera like you're talking to her.
Yep.
What does she need to do?
Yeah.
Because then I think you come along a little bit more concerned and not as hypey.
Right.
Because if you're talking about the storm, we got a 70
Yeah.
mile.
Yeah.
It tends to come off the wrong way.
Yeah.
So I totally agree with that. Anything else you want to add? I
Let's-
do want to end with one thing, but you go first.
Let's
National
talk
Weather
about
Service.
let's talk about the Weather Service and
Yeah.
our partnership with them. So circling back to the very beginning of this podcast, no, we don't copy what the National Weather Service says.
Thank you, Mark, for the question.
Yes. We do rely on them
A lot.
as guidance, as a backup to our forecast.
Yeah.
Once my forecast is complete, I will go and read the forecast
I
discussion
read it after, too. I
from the
was
National Weather
interested.
Service just to make sure that we're all on the same page. And I was thinking about this on the way in to do this morning. If there are any budding future meteorologists, I learned so much when I was younger from reading forecast discussions. And if you're not familiar with a forecast discussion, every National Weather Service office in the country twice a day will issue a big what's called forecast discussion, and it runs through what's happening in the short term, the next 12, 24 hours, all the way out through days 5, 6, and 7. And there are some amazing things that you can pick out of these forecast discussions.
Yes.
And the great thing about them now is if you're maybe just kind of getting into the weather interest or you're an enthusiast, there are links provided for all of the complicated words that you're going to come across. Positive vorticity advection. You click on that word and you'll instantly get what that means. Cape, click on it. You'll instantly get what it means. And it's still to this day, one of my favorite things to do is go and read forecast discussions from areas being impacted by a big
severe
weather
weather.
event. So it helps with severe weather forecasting. Same thing. Yesterday, I was reading the Rapid City, South Dakota forecast discussion, talking about the blizzard that they were having. It's a really great way to learn, and that's one of the other things I do first thing when I get up in the morning is read the discussion.
I got to write an AFD.
Yeah.
That's what they call them, area forecast discussions. And I thought I made it.
Yeah. Right.
I did an internship with the National Weather Service in Louisville, and one of my final days was you do the forecast there, and if you really are a budding meteorologist, you can actually go into their local maps where they kind of forecast and match things up with surrounding offices. But at the very end of the day, I remember them saying, all right, Andrew, you're going to write our area forecast discussion. and it was awesome.
Yeah.
And at the very bottom, I got to put ACD.
Yep.
Because it's initialed at the
Yeah.
bottom, the forecasters who wrote it. And hydrology's on there too, if you're a big hydrology area. But man, I
Yeah.
have nothing but respect for what they do.
Yeah, and we have the Weather Service office that covers our area is Wilmington, North Carolina.
Yeah.
They cover all of the counties here in our viewing area, and we have a really good relationship with that office. They're a good office. There were a few issues a few years ago that we kind of brought up to them,
Yeah.
and they addressed them, which I had a really big respect for. Let's go ahead and talk about those issues.
Yeah.
Sometimes, because this office is in Wilmington,
Yeah.
and I think this probably happens at a few National Weather Service offices. Their office is in Wilmington. Because of that, you're naturally going to be Wilmington-centric.
Center.
You're going to kind of tend to focus on that. Well, for 2 or 3 years, we would have flash flood events down here. Where cars are submerged, whether it was a summer thunderstorm or a tropical storm or something was causing flooding, and there would be nothing official that would come out from the National Weather Service. And a couple of us got together and brought it up, like, guys, like, we're down here, we've got flooding going on, we need something from you guys. And sure enough, and it worked, and we started getting more flood advisories and flood warnings and flash flood warnings and things like that. So it's a great partnership when there's big events. They're a great partner. I can call up the meteorologist, warning coordination meteorologist up there, can call him, can text him, say, hey, you guys going out for a damage survey or what? And yeah, we'll see you there. Come on out, bring a reporter, whatever. Like super, super great.
They're media friendly.
Very media friendly, yeah.
Which not all National Weather Services are.
Yeah, and it's getting better. It used to be back in the day that sort of TV meteorologist, National Weather Service meteorologist, it was not good. And then, especially with more and more technology, we both realized, like, we've got to start relying on each other, because
100%.
It is those individual Weather Service offices that issue the warnings that we have to get on the air.
Yeah.
So you've got to have that partnership for that.
I would tell, too, if you're a budding meteorologist and you want to start somewhere, start there.
Yeah, do an internship if you can. Yeah.
Read AFDs every morning. Every afternoon, whatever. And then explore their website.
Yep.
Because you're going to learn so much, even just vocabulary there.
Yeah.
To where I think meteorologists kind of get it wrong. They dive into the models first with no understanding of meteorology.
Yeah.
When you should probably dive into your area first.
Yep.
And then dive into the models, because they in the area forecast discussions, they'll call out this model's being a little over aggressive, and we see that now, a lot of clickbait that goes out, especially sometimes from people that don't even have a meteorology degree.
Right.
And I think we could kind of end that if you focus on, okay, where should I start my interest in weather? I'd start there first.
Yeah.
We get so excited that
Right.
we want to jump into what everyone else is using. But, NWS Wilmington's great.
Yeah, they are.
Very good.
There's a couple other really great offices. If you're a big severe weather fan, anytime there's thunderstorms anywhere in and around Mississippi, check out the National Weather Service Jackson office.
Yeah.
They write brilliant forecast discussions.
Yeah.
Absolutely brilliant forecast discussions.
Detailed as you will ever see.
Yeah. Just insane severe weather knowledge out of that office.
Yeah.
There's a couple of other good ones. Boston is a fun one
Boston,
to read,
especially for their snow.
Nor'easters on the way to the Northeast. Boston does beautiful forecast discussions.
Yep.
So yeah, just kind of keep up with what's going on big weather wise. Check out those discussions. They're wonderfully valuable.
I think it's interesting too, because we talked about how in our business the communication is so big for us and viewers that we have to make these graphics and we forecast less. For people who are listening to us or watching us, they're forecasting their entire shift.
Yeah.
Like the nitty gritty
Yeah.
details down from where planes fly
Right.
all the way down to the surface.
Yeah,
So,
and for the Wilmington office, they cover our weather, they cover aviation weather, they cover marine weather.
Yeah.
They're forecasting what's going on out there over the ocean, which I could care less about because there's
Yeah.
nobody out there. But yeah, they're having to do wave heights and wind directions and all of that.
if we bring, and I'm sure we'll bring, them on, I'd love to just talk to them about swells and.
Oh yeah,
Because to
Yeah.
me, I'm like, I
I still don't get it. Still don't get it. Yeah.
Real quick, I do want to end with the term people probably hear. I know we got about 5 minutes left. They hear it a lot from us, and I just kind of want to explain it. We've did a promo on it before. Certified most accurate.
Yes.
That's not just a slogan just to say it.
Yeah.
There's testing.
There's testing.
We get tested daily.
We get tested. We literally get tested daily. And basically this company sort of examines TV stations across the country.
Yeah. I think 99 markets, 98
99
markets.
television markets. They look at the forecast for all of the stations in that market. And through their calculations come up with the most accurate. So we went through initially, I guess we're going on 4 years now.
I think so, yeah.
So we went through the sort of initial process of, okay, which one of these stations in this market is the most accurate. We came out on top. And we've stayed on top. So we're really proud of that.
I think...
And that's in no way knocking the other folks in town.
Great people in town.
But this is also a competitive business. And somebody says we're certified most accurate, well, we're going to tell you about it.
And I think I would tell you this, too. If you were to ask me what the other people in town forecast, I can tell you right away.
Yeah.
I am focused on their numbers and our numbers. And I'm like, okay, if I think the sea breeze is more active, can I go a couple degrees down and maybe be right on the money?
Right.
I'll admit that. I do that.
Absolutely, yeah.
So especially when you're getting tested and we're down to decimals.
Yeah. Literally decimal points.
Sometimes less than that, and every day counts. So I don't know.
Yeah.
Even the sunny ones.
Yep, even the sunny ones count.
But I just want to make sure we say that because people are saying, "Oh, you're just saying that to be," you know.
No, there's a process behind it, and we will gladly share all the details and the scores if anybody wants to see. maybe not.
Maybe not.
We'll see.
Say, I don't know about that one. This is episode 6.
Yeah. We did it. Another
Do you like
episode.
the longer format?
I do.
I don't feel rushed.
I don't either, and I'm really curious to see what other people think.
Yeah. So
this felt very comfortable to me, the last two.
Yeah. We got a couple more questions, which I love. But if your question is so good and we can't wait, we will do it for episode 7.
Yep.
You can submit your questions to us on the YouTube comments. My favorite part is going in on the premiere on YouTube.
I didn't even know that was a thing
And
until
then
two episodes ago. And somebody tweeted me, he's like, "Are you going to be on the YouTube premiere?" I was like, "No, I did it." And I've kind of came off as a jerk. And then you tweeted her and was like, "Yes, we'll be there doing live comments." I was like, "Oh, that's what the premiere's about."
Yeah.
So now, yes, we both jump in at 7:30 on Thursdays when we do
cool.
the YouTube premiere.
The guy, shout out to Mike. He's been in the premiere every night. His son owns Pivotal Weather.
Yes.
Or works at Pivotal Weather.
Yeah,
I don't know, Mike, if I misspoke, but
which is a
model.
Very popular model website. Yeah.
It's like,
which is great. Yeah.
So shout out to Mike and shout out to your son.
Yep.
Yeah, that does it.
That does it.
I don't know what we're doing next episode.
I don't know. I'm kind of thinking, I'm heading to Texas for a hurricane conference.
Yeah.
So maybe we'll dive into some of that.
Okay. Cool.
If it works. If
This
everybody
has
wants to
Are
see it.
Are you
Are you serious?
A weather conversation between you and us. Y'all have a good one.
Appreciate it.